Hello there, Year 12. It's Mr. O'Neill delivering the first of 4 short lectures, tutorial sessions, introducing you to Extended Project, or EPQ, Extended Project Qualifications we often abbreviate it to. I think it's going to be a good option for many of you, for those of you who have an intellectual itch that you just have to scratch, for those students who are so keen on learning beyond their curriculum, who want to find out something, want to direct their own learning beyond what their teachers are directing them to do. But I want to draw attention to that word option. It's a really, really important word in that question. It is not mandatory. EPQ is optional for you. It's not obligatory. Some schools, I think, and colleges do make it an essential part of the curriculum, but we don't think that's important. We want the people who are really, really keen to do this off their own volition, really. We don't want to strong arm any of you into doing this, because for some of you it won't be right. And the idea of these next 3 or 4 sessions are designed to the design behind them is to ask that question and to hopefully get to a very clear answer, either yes or no. And if it's yes, obviously we've got plenty of ideas that we can throw out there for you to help you. Well, there are 4 EPQ options. So first of all, we've got a dissertation, a long extended essay. We've also got the option to conduct an investigation, a study involving some primary research, an analysis of data, a performance, or the creation of an artifact, a product, so like an art piece or a film piece or something in DT. And each of them are really, really valid options. The question there, I suppose, is which one best suits your skills and needs. But we've kind of done that for you. We only really offer at Rain & Mark Grammar School the dissertation, and there's a reason for that. The others are perfectly valid qualifications. There's lots of interesting things you can do in each of them, but we view Extended Project as a gateway, if you like, to the kind of academic disciplines that you'll explore at university. So the dissertation format is a format which you'll become second nature to you when you go to uni. So there's a clear, for us anyway, there's a clear link between Extended Project and a kind of trial run, a gateway, if you like, into university study. So if you do opt to do Extended Project with us, it will be a dissertation. I want to talk very briefly now about the time frame, and the idea about presenting these as videos for you is that obviously you can pause them at any point. You can keep coming back to them. You can look at them at any point. So I'm not going to read through all of this. Just a couple of things I just want to flag up, though. Firstly, the time frame. So we're starting now, and we're looking to finish sometime in term 4 of year 13. But really, the lion's share of your Extended Project should be completed before your January PQEs. And the reason we want that is because obviously your main focus is going to be on your exams, your A-level exams, and therefore we want you to have a clear run after the January PQEs on your subjects. The other thing I want to draw attention to at this point is that there's a combination here between what we're doing in school and in class and outside of school. And to be honest, the lion's share again of the work is done outside of the class. We have 1 lesson per week, and Mr. Twizel or I, depending on which of the teachers, which combination you get as your Extended Project mentor, we're there just to guide you through the process, as a sounding board, really, if you get any problems, to talk you through the format and so on. But the lion's share of the work is done by you outside of the classroom. So that's the kind of overview of the time frame. We want to get it done really around about Christmas of year 13, maybe slightly before. We can go on a little bit into the new year just to tweak things here or there, but we really want the lion's share of them done there. So what do we want to get out of you before the summer break? Well, there are several things that we think you should have done before we break for summer. Firstly, you've got to decide on a topic, the most obvious point, really. The thing that we're looking for here is that quote there, depth, not breadth. We're not looking for you to do everything in your subject area, but we're looking to find one area of interest and really plummet the details of it, really go into the details and explore that subject in far more depth than you might have done in your classroom. And I've given you some options there. It could relate to one of your A-level subjects, so it may well be that you choose to focus on English literature or physics or chemistry. business studies and so on. But it might be multidisciplinary. So, for example, you might combine elements of your A-level subject. So, in English literature, for example, studying Blake most recently with Year 12. It seems a while back now, but we were. And in the study of the poems, in the study of the texts, the literary texts, we also brought in some historical context. We're looking at the French Revolution and how those ideas influenced Blake's poetry. We were looking at some philosophical context. We looked at Kant and Rousseau and some of those proto-existentialists and so on. So it may well be that this is your chance to combine elements of your A-level subjects. It should really, of course, relate to your future plans. So if you want to study particular subjects at university, this is an ideal way to explore it in a bit more depth than maybe your curriculum allows you for. And of course, I've put a few subjects there: medicine, law, architecture, subjects which we don't study at Reading Mock Grammar School, or any A level really, I suppose. We've got great medical society here, I suppose, and we've got obviously great chemistry and biology teaching, but we don't study medicine as a discipline, or law as a discipline, or architecture. So maybe your chance to try one of these things out, try something out which goes beyond your 3 A level curriculum. The rule of thumb really is pretty much anything goes, as long as it's interesting, as long as it's suitably academic. The really important thing to do as soon as possible is to narrow your focus down. Now, the chances are that at this stage, you might be a bit scared about going really niche on something, but you shouldn't do. The 6,000 words which you've got available to you are divided into lots of different categories, and it's not a lot. It sounds a lot, but it isn't really. So the narrower the focus, the better. And a question we need really to give you a tight focus for your summer research. So, for example, a few years back, a student asked the question, why did the peasants revolt? He was interested in medieval history. He narrowed down to that subject, to the Peasants' Revolt of 1381, and he wanted to find out why they did it. Why did we have this uprising in England in the late 14th century? He looked at a number of factors which he could kind of weigh up and try and answer the question. Another student explored the question, to frack or not to frack. She was interested in the environment, the energy crisis, I suppose, and she was looking at hydraulic fracturing, or fracking as it's more commonly known as, and she was looking at the arguments for and against it. What should we use this as a source of energy for the future? What are the dangers of doing it? So a nice question which allows you to debate multiple perspectives. You also would ideally, it'd be a good idea to hook up with an advisor or a mentor who you can talk to from time to time. Now, look, this is not me or Mr. Twice. Well, it might be, but it doesn't have to be really. You're going to be exploring topics which are way beyond our understanding. I mean, I'm pretty good on English and film possibly, and Mr. Twisel's got his expertise areas as well, which are obviously economics, business, finance, those kind of things. But you're going to potentially be looking at a subject which we don't have that expertise in. So it might be worth just swinging by and asking somebody within a particular department to see if they could give you a steer now and then. In fact, it doesn't really have to be somebody in the school. I know a student a few years back did an extended project on an ethical question around midwifery, and hooked up with a midwife who gave her pointers at various stages. Stress to them that they don't have to meet you that frequently and won't have to mark your EPQ. Your teachers are very busy people. It's difficult for them to say no to you because they want to encourage you, but obviously if they fear that they're going to have a real time burden, they might be more reluctant. If you tell them they don't have to mark it, that you'll only email them now and then or have a chat now and then, they'll be much more willing to be on board as a mentor and advisor who can point you in the right direction at some points. And we're also going to try and get you to learn some tips about, first of all, finding sources, and then creating a research list, because the summer term, as you might have seen on the previous slide, if you paused it and had a look, is the really important time to get most of the reading done, most of the wider reading and research done. Once you come back in year 13, you'll have all sorts of other plates to spin and so on. So you've got a good block of time to explore. And we're going to teach you a little bit about note making as well. Obviously, as you're reading, it's worth jotting things down, note making, getting your references sorted, and so on. In terms of gatekeeping, we do operate a policy where there is a gate that you need to come through. So it's not just a free-for-all. You can't have everybody on there. You do have to fulfil certain criteria. So I just want to mention that obviously EPQ is a bonus really here to add on to your A-levels. We view the A-levels as your bread and butter. These are your priorities. These are what are going to get you into university or to your apprenticeship or your job. And they're going to live with you, throughout your life. So it's really important that you get your A-levels prioritised. This is your super curriculum, the MOOCs, the other things that you've been doing more widely. I think that you should view that as a bonus, really, super beyond your existing curriculum. We want you all to complete the Future Learn course. That's an absolute given. If you've not completed that, and we can check. More details on this in the next slide. Then we just won't accept you onto it at all. That's a gate closed scenario. We really like the Future Learn course. I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. It gives you a great overview. We also need you in the first lesson back to have an essay written. So over the summer, you've done your research, you've found your question, and you've written us a short essay. Again, I'll talk to you a bit more about that later on. There's no point going into the details now. But be aware that we do expect you to do a piece of writing which explains a lot of what you've been doing over the summer. And again, it's another gate for you to pass through or not. If we find out that you've not done anything, or you've not been a productive summer, or if you're honest in your essay and say, look, I've really struggled with this, and we have a discussion in September and it doesn't look right for you to continue, then we can pull you at that point. And whilst we're on that subject, there are a number of opportunities where you can withdraw from EPQ. So hopefully you'll all be quite open-minded at this stage. In year 12, term 5 and 6, you'll be thinking, I'll give it a go, let's have a look at it. It might be that at some point by the end of term 6 you've decided it's not for you. It might be that over the summer your plans weren't fulfilled. You didn't complete them as you wanted to, in which case you might decide that that's not the case. Or after our discussions when we're back in early September, you might decide, no, it's not for me. I'm going to pursue another option. I'm going to maybe do a couple of MOOCs to fulfil my super curricular obligations, but I'm going to focus on my A-levels. The only thing that we ask is that once we've got past that initial first few weeks back of September of year 13, if you're still on there, the expectation is you see it through to the end. We don't want people pulling out at the last minute in December because they feel it's getting too much or whatever. It's not too much. It's really, really manageable. And most people who complete the course go on to get really good grades, A stars and A's. This is the link to the Future Learn course run by the University of Bath. I highly recommend it. I've done it myself. It's a weekly tutorial session where each week you get a new set of lectures, video clips, things to read. They're quite short. It won't take much of your time, but it will give you what I think is a very interesting perspective, the university's perspective, or specifically the University of Bath. But I think most universities share a similar view of extended project, especially those more competitive universities, the Russell Group universities, and so on. And they like it because obviously it shows a real commitment to your study. And if you get a decent grade at EPQ, I suppose it's for them a good acid test of whether or not you've got the chops to become a good undergraduate. A lot of what you're doing here is self-directed, managed independently, and so on. So we want you to do this. It's free. You can see there, join the course for free. There is a payment option, but please don't take that. The payment option is just allowing you to have a quiz at the end, a test at the end, where you can get a certificate to prove that you've done the course. Look, we'll trust that you've done the course. We think that if you're interested enough to sign up and watch it, you're going to do this because it's a really good opportunity to find out about EPQ. So don't pay. It's the learning which is most important, not the piece of paper at the end of it. The interesting thing, of course, about the University of Bath, in addition to the fact that they explain why they like it, is they also suggest that good EPQ students will get a reduced offer there. Not every university does that, but it's one of the reasons why I think some students might find it an attractive proposition. Okay, well that's enough for the first lesson. tutorial, I suppose. I'll see you next week for another one, which will be on narrowing your focus and formulating a question. Thanks for listening. Bye now.